signs, a lot of people. Eileen was against me. So this is 20,000 signatures from people. This is from our change.org petition. And then we have, I've got all kinds of information. This is almost 4,000 signatures that we've gotten in person. In addition to, with all these, it's approximately 20,000 signatures. These are signatures from Chicagoans, from people in the suburbs who don't want to see horses suffering when they come into the city, downtown. We have signatures from Italy, all over the world. The tourists do not like this industry. We talk to them on a monthly basis. People come up to us. We don't even have anybody anymore defending the horse carriage trade. They break the law on a regular basis. And so what we were told is on September 11th, it was the bill that was introduced by Alderman Hopkins was on the September 11th agenda. Did you know, or do you know this?
I am vaguely familiar with this. So when we have our senior statute, we go over many of these topics. This was mentioned, but I can't say now. So I was just coming in. I am the chief engagement officer, so I was not expecting this. So I don't have any talking points or any research on it.
Can we meet with a member of her legislative team?
What I can do is I will definitely accept this. I can assure you that in our next meeting, which I believe is tomorrow, we're going to bring this up as an issue that you gave us 4,000 petitions signed and 20,000.
20,000, yes.
I'm sure that the legislative folks are familiar with this. At the very minimum, what I can do on my part to be a point of contact on this, I can tell you what I do in a moment as well. Sorry, I don't have one card here.
That's okay. No. I mean, these are members of the Chicago Lions fans.
Yeah.
There would be many more. Obviously, most people cannot come on a weekday at 9 a.m. or 9:30.
Can you tell me more about your group?
Sure. We are an all-volunteer grassroots organization. Not one of us gets paid. We do this on our own free time. We have spent hundreds and hundreds of hours sitting at the horse carriage stand, documenting horses being overworked, not provided water, worked when it's too hot. Everybody here is really passionate, and not one of us, we don't bother the horse carriage operators, we don't bother the passengers. We simply document the violations. Yet, Business Affairs and Consumer Protection are not enforcing the law. They're not enforcing the animal welfare laws on the books. We understand the city doesn't probably have the resources or the funding to be at the horse carriage stand from 11 a.m. till 1 a.m. in the morning. But if they're not, then this trade needs to go away. I mean,
they do get it when they negotiate down at the end.
So last summer, Business Affairs and Consumer Protection took all three carriage companies to court. They allowed each one to settle. I was not allowed to testify. My volunteers who documented violations were not allowed to testify. They allowed them to settle, with the requirement that they immediately start to comply with the law and submit logbooks on the first of each month, starting last July and August until January and February. I did a Freedom of Information request in December. I received that in early December. Not one of the three carriage companies submitted the required logbooks at all, from summer until December. Yet each one got their licenses rubber stamped at the end of November after not complying with the terms of their settlements. So, to fast forward to September 11th agenda, we were told by Alderman Hopkins' office, who is the sponsor of this ordinance, O2019-4125, that it was on the agenda to be heard this year, as it was heard a year ago. Then I was told by Alderman Hopkins' office that the mayor's office removed it from the agenda for further review. You don't know, or
I'm not familiar.
Okay, that's what we want to know. Yes, and so the next license committee meeting is Tuesday. To my knowledge, the agenda has to be posted online 48 hours in advance, which would be Friday, right? Okay. So we really want this ordinance to be on the agenda. We have more than half of the license committee supports this measure, more than half of the city council, 32 aldermen, 26 official co-sponsors, but 32 total have told us they support this humane measure and they will vote in support. So it's time to allow this to be heard and voted on Tuesday. And the mayor, I don't know why the mayor would want to hold that up.
Well, again, I wish I had some answers for you. I do appreciate your advocacy in meeting you all today. Is there a name here, or is there
Chicago Alliance for Animals? Yes.
So I think I gave you my business card. I would really appreciate yours as well.
Yep.
you a quick question?
Please, yeah.
Is the meeting tomorrow that you mentioned to discuss this?
No, so the meetings that I've referenced is every other day we have during the week, mostly during the week, senior staff meetings where we go around the table and we discuss the pressing issues for the week. This is definitely one that I was not familiar with as being a pressing issue, but now I know that to you it definitely is. So what I'm going to do is immediately as I go back to the office here, share this information with some of our legislative folks and our chief of staff. But again, the mayor's at the table, and please don't quote me about tomorrow because I don't know her schedule. Tomorrow she's usually at these meetings herself to have that conversation.
And we have been reaching out to her office since before she was elected. We endorsed candidates for mayor, we endorsed candidates for alderman. We reached out to her since probably for over a year now, asking to meet with her. Not a lot of time, 10, 15 minutes. We reached out to her officially requesting a meeting months ago. We haven't heard anything. Again, this is an ordinance sitting in committee. It was heard a year ago, last September, 4.5-hour hearing, because so many people are passionate about this issue. The chairwoman of that committee, the license committee, blocked the vote that day. So we are back where Chairwoman Mintz. So we are back where we were a year ago. We have more than half the city council supports it, so we deserve to have a hearing and a vote. And this is a packet, and I'm not going to give this to you but this is more than 200 businesses that support a horse carriage ban, from nonprofit organizations that have millions of members to local restaurants.
Are those also petitions or?
These are endorsement pledges. So each one, like the first one is a restaurant called Alice and Friends.
Could we get copies of those?
They're all online.
Okay.
Yeah, I can send you the link.
Great.
But I don't want to give all this stuff up because this is our hard work. And until we
But
meet
it helps
with
your cause
someone,
as well. So if you have.
of course. Well, I'm giving you 17,000 signatures here.
Okay. Are those included in here?
No, these are the signatures we've got in person.
If you can do us a favor and scan those in
I can,
somewhere,
I can.
and send those to us because it helps.
Or, I can bring them back when we get an official meeting.
That'd be great.
But, I'd be happy to show them or give them if we can get a promise to get this heard.
Sure. Well, what I can do, and I'll take any other questions or comments before I start speaking.
My quick question was actually going to be, is the meeting that you're talking about open to the public?
No,
Or is it just?
no, I'm talking about how I transfer the information back to our senior
Okay,
staff.
okay.
Again, I'm familiar with this topic, just having heard it at one of our senior staff meetings. But what I can do is relay once again that, this is a topic that I'm definitely hearing, and to get some answers as well.
I have a question for
Yes.
you. I'm curious, obviously there are animal issues here and those have been well documented, and there's more than 50% support for this. I'm curious why the city isn't taking this more seriously from a citizen's tax perspective. This represents an enormous tax problem for us if there are any lawsuits, because this happens on Michigan Avenue, and we've seen in other cities that there have been lawsuits because there have been traffic accidents, and if there's a death
And deaths.
and if that happens, that represents an enormous amount of money spent by the city, not to mention we look ridiculous in my opinion, because this is something outdated from the 1800s, and we're trying to be this city that attracts Amazon and
Progressive
Google,
city.
and we look ridiculous to tourism, and tourism represents jobs. So I'm concerned from a financial standpoint from the city, so I'd love an answer for Jody and the rest of us on that.
So I don't have an answer. In fact, I'll take your question as a statement because I learned a little bit from the words you were just saying in terms of statistics, which I don't know that that's the case, but I will take.
And I'd be happy to send you statistics on accidents and deaths. Almost weekly, there's a horse carriage accident around the world.
Sure.
Just because it doesn't happen in Chicago doesn't mean it won't. Chicago is a very chaotic, busy city. It took me over an hour to get here today. I was so upset because I was supposed to be here at 8:45. It takes me 20 minutes typically. Today it took me over an hour. Imagine horses dealing with the rain and the fire engines and
traffic.
and the buses.
Can I say one thing? So today, how it's pouring out, the horses are out there today. I mean, we've documented them in thunderstorms. We've documented them in below freezing weather, pulling people. Now, injured people. I saw a video that was sent to me last week of a child falling out of one of these carriages. Okay, they're not safe. I went and documented Jody for one day. A horse had a severely injured leg and was limp. It had its tail tied to its harness so it couldn't swat flies, which is a very natural thing for a horse to do. When the horse carriage driver, in fact one of the managers from the company saw what we were doing and called, and we called animal control, and they showed up. They said there was no problem. In fact, they had some fake document, we believe to be fake, showing how this horse was approved for work by a vet. It had no data. They were fighting animal control to take this horse back to its little stable in the middle of the third largest city in the country. Now, no matter if this can be done in a way that complies with law or not, these people don't care about these animals. And it's clear from just watching how they treat them out there that no matter what happens, no matter if the law is enforced, these animals are never going to be treated humanely. And more people come to the city and see this. And more people are getting on to this movement of treating animals humanely. And so this is not going away. We've been doing this for 4 years now. What is the mayor waiting for? And I'm not threatening the mayor in any way, but I would think so. I love the mayor. I think she's great. She's incredibly progressive. This is a progressive issue. Progressives are on board with this. This should be a no-brainer for them. So it's just important that she understands that these horses are being treated terribly, not to mention the risk to human life. What if a car runs into one of these horses? I mean, why should a horse be pulling a carriage behind a CTA bus? I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
And if you keep in mind what he said regarding the dangers, there are no seatbelts, there are no airbags, there are no child. Yes. So any person can get in, a toddler can get in this carriage, a woman, a parent can get in holding an infant. And you know what happens if there's a major accident? You know, you can't be in a car without a child seat. So these, you know, this is a relic of the past. Maybe at one time it was safe. Maybe at one time it was fun. It's no longer safe for the people. It's no longer safe for the horses. It's no longer safe for other drivers or pedestrians. This is a packet showing 334 violations.
Can I keep this?
Yep. Mm-hmm. And that is from the horse carriage operators in 2017 alone. 334 violations. It's a minimum. In Chicago, for the year of 2017.
For the year of 2017.
If you look through some of these, you'll see many overworking violations. You'll see many lack of water violations. You'll see many working when too hot, when it's over 90 degrees or hotter. Now these are just a minimum of the ones that they happen to see. For example, we were out Sunday and 2 horses were overworked. Those will only be documented if I submit. I'll take hours and hours to submit our video evidence, and PACP takes our word for it. This is a packet of violations from when I did a Freedom of Information request last year that shows that not one of the 3 companies submitted the required logbooks from their settlements.
But it's important to know that all these violations are occurring while they watch us videotape them violating the law. They just don't care. They know we're trying to end this industry, and they just think it's funny because they don't think City Hall's going to do anything about it.
Because they're not. Nobody is enforcing the law.
Well, and then they react with hand gestures that are less than complimentary, and they become the ambassadors for tourism. I think that's not who we want representing our city as ambassadors to tourists.
We have a video of a carriage operator. We're videotaping him because, as we do on a Saturday or Sunday when we document them overworking, we get them throughout the day to prove that they're still on the street, even though they're not necessarily breaking the law. To prove they're still on the street, same horse, same carriage, same driver. He puts his hand up, gives us a finger gesture. In his carriage, now he's sitting here, there's a young girl in the back of his carriage who I'd say is maybe 12, 13 years old, and he's giving this a hand gesture right in her eye view. That is not the kind of tourism ambassador Chicago wants or needs.
When she says these horses are being overworked, she's talking about the laws that are out in the books, the Chicago ordinance. So, and this is the premier retail space in Chicago, premier tourist space. And this is something that people are seeing animal abuse on a daily basis. It's interfering with traffic. What would really help move this issue is Jody needs 5 minutes with someone on the mayor's staff. What can we do today to set a time where we can come in? All we want is 5 minutes to go over this stuff. We'll bring you whatever you need. This is a proposal that's been before the city council and has not come to a vote. We want to move this issue forward.
We had the majority support in the Committee on License a year ago. We've done everything right. We've worked with the aldermen. We've met with the aldermen. It had a 4.5-hour hearing. The chair of the committee, in September of last year, the chair of the committee started the meeting by saying, I'm not allowed to prepare, or I'm not prepared to allow this to go to a vote today. She said she wasn't familiar enough with the issue. Okay? Now, the bill was introduced December 2017. This was September 2018. So we reached out to our office in January. I sent her those FOIAs, the ones that I had at the time. I sent her our video documentation of violations. I sent her the information on accidents and deaths surrounding this industry. So for her to claim she knew nothing about this industry means she didn't look into it. So at the end of the hearing, she once again said she knows nothing about the issue after a 4.5-hour hearing and refused to allow a vote. She claimed that there are shootings in Chicago and that that's more important. That we can actually care about shootings and violence in Chicago and the horses at the same time. But she did not allow a vote. She blocked the process. She refused to allow it on the October or November agenda last year, and they got their licenses renewed. We are where we are, where a year ago, we have the support. We are not asking you or the mayor to pass this. We would love her support, but what we're asking for is that this be allowed to be heard next Tuesday on the License Committee agenda and be allowed to go to a vote, not blocked again. Now let me tell you one more thing. I mean, I could talk to you for hours, as I'm sure everybody here knows. When you start looking through this and you see the overwork, the work violation of work hours, this will say right here, the horse was at the stand at 4:21, still at the stand at 10:25, surpasses the allowed 6 hours to operate a horse within a 24-hour period. Now, when we call the police after documenting them being overworked, the operators tell the police, oh no, it doesn't go by the time the horse is seen at the carriage stand until the end of the day. They told the police on Sunday the horse only had 3 rides. So what the operators tell the police, and the police don't know the law. Every policeman I know has told me they are not familiar with this. It's the first time they've ever gotten a call about the horse carriages. They tell us, so the operators tell them, he worked a 20-minute ride, then he worked a half-hour ride. The horse has only worked 2 hours today. If you read it by this city, FOIA, on Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, they are telling by that alone that it's not by ride, it's not by when the horse is in operation. It's from when the horse arrives at the stand till the horse leaves.
Are there other questions?
We appreciate your patience.
Yeah.
You're hearing all this cold today. You didn't know we were coming.
I want to hear it.
What would really move this issue is not only it being on the agenda, but what can we do today to set a meeting with you where we can come in and meet with the mayor's staff or meet with you and give you an opportunity to look over some of this.
Sure.
Let us know if there's other information that you need. But can we set a meeting with
Tomorrow,
the mayor's staff?
ideally.
So I'll give you my commitments in a moment. I just want to make sure everybody's heard though. That'd be great. That would be great.
We will get you anything.
Yeah, anything you want. I just think I was until 3 in the morning preparing everything, and
You
we've
and I
got
stay up
hundreds
till
and
6
hundreds. Yeah. So we can get you copies of everything you need.
That would be great.
We're running out of time.
Sure.
This has to be on the agenda Friday. And the reason we showed up without alerting your office is because we've been requesting these meetings for a year now.
And I'm going to ask you who specifically as well in a moment, just so I know who's best to have reach out to talk about, so from our office. Okay, anyone else? Yeah. I only brought the one because I wasn't expecting to see you here, and so I just have one in my pocket. But I can go back and get another one, or if you just want a copy or like take a photo and send it to your colleagues. So again, my name is Juan Carlos Linares. I am the Chief Engagement Officer. So what I often do, there's a couple things. People ask, what is a Chief Engagement Officer? And I'll let you know how this relates to the work that I do as well. So a couple things. We didn't have a Chief Engagement Officer here in the past. We had an Office of Public Engagement. It was staffed, but not to the level that it's staffed now. And so our mission is manifold, but in 2 respects that relate to this discussion. Is number one, we've adopted a set of values and principles, which you can actually find it online. It's at www.elevatedchicago.org. It was drafted by 18 nonprofits, collaboratives called Elevated Chicago. I was part of that prior to coming here, so I was also in the advocacy space. And I just want to point out one thing out of there is the first part is like a ladder of engagement. At what levels do we listen to, folks? Oftentimes it was at just level 1 information. We weren't listening. We're just telling you what's going to happen, and that's that. We don't really consult or involve or collaborate with our community partners. We're definitely at levels 2 through 6 on the ways we collaborate with our partners now on a variety of issues. But more importantly, I think for our conversation is the second part of that document, which is our values and how we listen to you and what your issues are. And I'm hearing a lot of passion. I hear a lot of dedication to this. I'll ask you a few questions and ask if my assumptions are true before I go back and deliver this. But first and foremost, section 1.1 talks about all voices have value. And I have not heard your voice before. I'm hearing it for the first time today. But it sounds like you've been working on this for a long time. And it sounds like you, for at least a year, have had this in a legislative process and has not moved forward to your satisfaction. But to me, when I go back to all voices have value, just to give you an interpretation of that, I want to value your voices no more or no less than I do the mayor's, or my boss, who I report to, but no more or no less than the homeless guy who I ran into earlier today who was asking for money, right? We all have value to our voices. So I will definitely respect that. I have not heard from the other side of this whatsoever. I'm hearing yours for the first time, so I'm sure there's another voice, but that's not my job necessarily. To your point, that's our policy and legislative folks who will wrangle with that and get to the heart of the specific ordinance. So, really quickly, if I could just get through some assumptions really quickly, tell me if I'm right or wrong. So, number one, you want to meet with someone in the mayor's office with regards to the policy itself and moving forward on an agenda for September, or for October, which would be on Friday. That's what you're asking, right? Specifically.
The sooner the better. I mean, we'd love to have met with someone on our legislative team today because we really want this on the agenda.
Sure. Okay.
For next Tuesday. If it's not on Tuesday's agenda, we have 1 month left. And
Why 1 month? Why?
Because their licenses are renewed at the end of November. So if their licenses are renewed for another full year, they're gonna overwork and abuse horses for another full year. We need to get this passed ideally next Tuesday. And then we need to get it on the agenda because we have to prove to the chairwoman that this deserves a vote. And I need to say this before I forget it. I know that the mayor ran, part of her running talking points were she wants to root out corruption in City Hall, which I think everybody here is very excited to hear. We want that out. We want Chicago to be run democratically. So that is, why would we allow this trade to continue when they prove over and over and over again that they break the law? Okay, so if the city is not does not have the resources and money to enforce the laws on the books, and the operators continue to overwork and break the law because they know that nobody's enforcing the law, then this is this should be an easy answer. An easy way, one way to root out corruption. We're not taking anything away from the crime or the looming teacher strike. This should be a simple, supportive issue for her.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. I did want to make one caveat because I know, and I don't think she's here now, but one of your colleagues who was here earlier talked about supporting and endorsing and the elections. Our office, believe it or not, and particularly my work, is very non-political, and ethics-wise should be non-political. So we concern ourselves with the policy, with the resource allocations. I, in particular, with community engagement. My colleague Ann is with racial and social equity. So that's our task. I do appreciate that it was mentioned, but that's not for us. We don't work on the endorsements, that sort of thing, and ethically I can't. But to the point of the passion and dedication you have for this issue, if I can make just a couple of more or ask a few questions. Number one, I'm assuming that the legislative folks you work with down on the second and third floors of City Council have this material as well. Is that true?
I don't know which officer.
The licensing committee, the chairperson of the licensing committee, and the folks who in City Council.
Alderwoman Nitz?
Yes.
She knows it. She's the chair of the committee, so I assume she knows it's sitting in our committee.
But in terms of this information.
Oh yes, we have. Like I told you, we've reached out to her office since January of 2018. She refused to meet with us. She told us a year ago she knows nothing about the issue. And by the way, at the end of that hearing, when she blocked the vote, she said she needs to have a meeting with all the parties involved. Our organization, the owners, the operators, Alderman Riley and Hopkins, the sponsors of the bill. There were no meetings.
Well, I asked because the separation of branches we do take also seriously. So I'm sure, well, I shouldn't be sure, but maybe it's an assumption I'm making that you're also continuing this advocacy with your partners in City Council as well.
Yes,
In addition to the mayor's office.
Yes, I mean, we officially 26 co-sponsors, 32 aldermen altogether have told us they support this measure.
And this is just out of curiosity because again, I'm learning this for the first time. But there's a lot here in terms of violations. I'll take this as fact for now, right?
That's just 1 year.
This is just I see there's a lot here. Can I ask about your group and your advocacy? And this is in no way, I don't mean to diminish the work that you do, but I'm assuming that a lot of these come from this group, right? So you're monitoring this yourselves and you're out there every day. Can you tell me some stories about how you operate?
I can tell you that I videotape them throwing cigarettes in the bucket with water, or having the bucket really far from them, they cannot reach to drink. And we monitor that the same course was Saturday, it was Sunday, it was 12 hours on Saturday, 12 hours on Sunday. We monitor that they were riding on the left side of the street, on the street that were not supposed to be. I can keep going on, but yeah.
They're violating all the relevant ordinances. The streets that they're allowed to be on, they violate. Anytime that we're out there watching and observing and videotaping, they're doing any number of violations. They're violating the numbers of hours that a horse is allowed to work, the extreme temperature, whether it's the summer in the 90s or whether it's the winter in the 20 degrees. They're just flagrantly violating all the ordinances on the book. And further, this progressive city, that premier retail space does not want this. It's a blight, it's an eyesore, it's animal abuse. And the city council and aldermen are ready to pass something. It's just not coming to a vote. The democratic process is being stopped and stymied. So I want to say that I appreciate your time so much. You did a lot for this in the morning. You came out, you've been listening.
I actually just missed your meeting, but I'm happy to be out here with you.
You're asking
We
great
do
questions,
appreciate it.
and I really appreciate you. I'm excited about this new mayor as well, but we want to move this issue forward. We want to get you the information that you need. That's why we want a meeting. We want this on the agenda.
And in August, a horse was, animal care and control did show up because of our calls. He had, like Adam had mentioned, he was limping. He had an open sore right above his left hoof. That's against the law. Multiple. They're not supposed to be allowed to work if they have open wounds. So animal care and control came out. She looked the horse over. She sent the horse in. She told the driver to remove the horse's tail from the clasp so he could shake his tail to get flies off his feet.
Which were buzzing around the open sores above his hoof.
Yeah. And so they did send the horse home. But here's the thing: the veterinarian, who is the horse carriage's veterinarian, is the one who checked out the horse. I asked the animal care control, can we have an independent equine veterinarian check out this horse? No, it's the carriage operator's veterinarian. So it's definitely, slanted. You are not going to get a 100% clear picture of this horse's health unless it's an independent veterinarian.
So after 4 years of this, I went with Jody in August to document the violations. Not one horse had a water bucket. I also did not see one horse allowed to stop at the water fountains there for the horses to drink from until animal control came out and 2 cop cars came out. That's when they started allowing the horses to drink. Not one. For several hours did I see stop and allow the horse to drink, and none of them had water buckets, which violates the law. The tail was braided of this one horse. This was the most disturbing. When I posted on Facebook, tons of people, dozens, were mortified by the fact that this horse's tail was not only braided, which is cruel, but then stuck in a clasp. Now, I thought it was on accident when I saw it. I thought, oh, they were rushing to put the harness on the horse and the tail got caught. But we don't talk to the carriage people, okay? Well, Jody was filming the tail stuck in the clasp. The guy, the carriage driver, is sitting there like nothing's an issue, goes, so it doesn't shit on it. So he purposely did it, tied the tail to the clasp so that the horse would defecate on its tail and then scare off tourists, because horses defecate. I mean, they don't use the bathroom. So he's ensuring that the horse doesn't defecate on its own tail while flies are swarming around the open wounds on its feet and he can't swat anything.
That was a very colorful illustration.
And that video was so telling and disturbing. It was carried on the nightly news. It did get raised to that level. So
this is after years of us being out there videotaping.
Let me ask also, if I can, and again, this is more for my information and how you've operated to get to this point is how many of you show of hands are out there looking and watching and making and monitoring and making sure. So there's a few of you, right, that are out there.
She's out there at least once a month for an entire day.
And if people aren't doing like a daily long 12-hour day,
Sure.
if any one of these people are down at the horse carriage stand or in the area where the horse carriages work, they keep their eyes open because there are many laws that are constantly being violated. There are laws that are in place to protect the public, such as they are not allowed to go north on Rush Street at Chicago on Friday and Saturday nights past 6 p.m. because, as most of us know, that's kind of a party zone. There are party buses, there are motorcycles. They violate that law all the time. You'll see a horse carriage slowly trotting along Rush Street with a party bus next to it, and kids drinking beer and screaming and loud music. It's inhumane. And the mayor, I consider a progressive mayor. I am so happy she's in office. This is a progressive, humane issue. It's a common sense issue.
Well, if I can ask then, and I do appreciate your time as well, because I know you came all this way and it was hard to get here. I understand today. One final question is there someone specifically, as I get to work on this and I go back to my office, is there someone specifically in the mayor's office that you have already talked to about this in the last several months since this administration has been here? Because one of my, what will help me facilitate this more expediently.
I know Robert Folchak,
Got it.
he's a senior
Okay.
policy advisor, and I have contact.
Great. I'm going to go back to him now and talk to him about this. But my point is, it's great that we're having this dialogue right now and I'm learning about this issue, but it helps you in no way, it helps me in no way if I just pop this on someone's desk and say, your policy, go for it, right? So having that specific name is helpful. And he might not be that right person. There might be someone
I don't know
else
where he's thinking.
but I will find, I was asked to make a commitment today. I can't do that, I won't do that. Other than say, I am, as I just said, going to go back now and have this
Why we're
conversation.
focusing on the mayor is because we were this close to getting into a vote. If we get into a vote, it's done, it's passed.
Got it.
You won't deal with us.
She
I'm
pulled
sure
it,
I
so
will.
now we're here.
I'm sure, and that's okay, and that's fine, because I'm sure you have other issues in addition to this one that you might want to express. So, right?
We do.
But
But that's what I'm here for as well. Right. That's what I'm here for as well, is to, at a very minimum, hear you out, hear what the issues are. It seems like you're farther down than many other advocacy groups on a variety of issues are. You actually have something sitting right now in a committee. So that's where I'm hearing that you're at right now.
But it's
and you
stuck.
want
You
action.
can't get it to a vote.
That's what I'm
It's
hearing.
being blocked.
Okay. So
And-
I will see what I can't make that assumption that that's what's happening, but I will find out.
Well, it was blocked a year ago, and it was reintroduced on June 12th, the first city council with the new mayor and the new city council. We didn't expect it to get on the agenda right away, but, it wasn't on July, August, there was no meeting. September, again, we were told it was on the agenda, it was actually on it, and then we were told the mayor's office pulled it off for further review. So now, we hope she is reviewing it, we're hoping she'll allow it to be on this agenda on Tuesday. I keep thinking of many more things to tell you. The latest is, there is no requirement for turnout in the city of Chicago. There are cities around the world that have this requirement for carriage horses, which means the horses every day must be allowed to have access to grass, pasture, free from the bit in their mouth, free from the blinders, free from being attached to a carriage, where they can roll on the ground, they can socialize with another horse, they can run, they have grass. After these horses are overworked, sometimes 12 plus hours, more than double what Chicago's law allows, they are trotted back fast, which is another violation. They're only allowed to walk at a normal rate and not be trotted fast. Back to a warehouse, which I have a picture in here for you. Yes, can I show it to you? Back to a warehouse on Clybourne Avenue. Do you mind holding that one? Thank you so much.
Do you want to
Could give
I
this
can,
to
that's the stuff you didn't want to give me, so
Yeah.
don't let me hold it.
Oh my gosh, there are so many signatures in here.
And again, I'm going to use this all as, to illustrate the conversation we just had.
This is the antique coach and carriages warehouse. Now, when you think of horses, most people think of a farm or a pasture, a barn. This is a dilapidated warehouse on Clybourne, just north of Fullerton. So they go into this dark building, into a stall, which is really a cage for a horse. It's just bigger than their body. So we don't know if they can lie down comfortably after working a 12-hour day. We don't know if they can stretch. It's inhumane.
Whether they get food, water, any kind of attention at
I mean,
all.
it's a sad
It's like
existence.
a prison.
It's animal abuse and slavery out on the streets.
I'm sure you have more. What I will do is I will point you to the right person to go over those details with them. Not to say that I've heard enough, but I do want to get to work on this now.
Sure.
And if there's any, you have my card, please, if you want to circulate it, like take a photo and circulate it amongst the group, that's fine. I'm here to also take other issues. We have a team of 6, so it won't just be me.
I do have one that I will contact you about later.
Great, okay. And
Jody is the point person on this.
For sure, I have Jody's card right here.
Right.
So I do caution that because of the volume of issues that we get, I might not get back to you right away that day, but within the week, we hope to get through everything. And we do take all of these issues very seriously, I will assure you that. And I'm vaguely familiar with it because I remember hearing this in a senior staff meeting without necessarily remembering a resolution in any way.
Right.
But I'm vaguely familiar.
So what can you commit to us today? You said you can't commit to a meeting. Can you commit to some level of follow-up? Are you getting in touch with Jody?
So I'm gonna go again, and I'm not big on
on
commitment because I want to hear what you have, right? But
Sure.
what I can do and what I will do, and it's really my job to do, and I'm happy to do it, is go back to our team, to Rob in particular, who was working with you on this issue. Again, I don't.
I don't want to say he was working with me on this issue. I did reach out to him about this
Got it.
issue.
Okay, so that's helpful. Actually, that's very helpful.
And I believe the mayor's got letters. I've called, I know members of CAA. We have 1,500 plus members who have reached out to the mayor and simply want, her to allow this, the democratic process of being heard and voted on. And as I will lastly say once again, we know this is a time issue.
Sure,
So if there is any way to meet with her, tomorrow or Friday, or somebody on the legislative team, whoever is willing to give us, we don't want to take a lot of time, 15 minutes to a half hour.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. The likelihood that you actually meet with the mayor is very low.
Oh, I understand that.
This is going out of town.
I understand.
But my goal is to get you someone, to get you, Jody, and someone else perhaps from someone on our policy team to have this discussion further. And then I can be that liaison as well with you, moving forward in the process. But I would also encourage you, you probably are doing this already, but working with your city council representatives to make sure they're aware of the issues.
Yeah, and we have been going to ward nights.
Good.
For the constituents, we will go to their ward night, present a packet, not all of this, but a packet with all the information on the violations and so forth.
Well, I appreciate you coming in and your advocacy. I see that you're really, really passionate about the issue. It sounds like it's an important issue that has some urgency to it. So I do appreciate you coming in. I'm going to go back to this work.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for your time.